Biggest difference for me, it's I proved something to myself that I knew I could do. I went out there and beat him.
Dustin Poirier is an American professional mixed martial artist nicknamed the Diamond. The story of his life is a vivid example of how high you can rise if you go towards your goal, no matter what. Dustin Poirier. How does Conor McGregor's main rival live? Dustin Glenn Poirier was born on January 19, 1989 in Lafayette, Louisiana, USA. He belongs to a sub-ethnic group of Cajuns with French-Canadian roots, which he is very proud of. Dustin has studied the history of his origins and can tell a lot about his people. Dustin's father, Daryl Poirier, like his grandfather, was engaged in martial arts but took almost no part in raising his son. When the boy was 5 years old, his parents divorced and he stayed with his two brothers, his mother Jerry Foley Chasen and grandmother Blanda. Poirier grew up a restless, active child. He trained in wrestling and became a real bully by the age of 10. Dustin's mom said that her son fought for no reason. He could just walk up to another boy and start beating him. He often started fights at school, and on the streets of his neighborhood, he participated in sudden battles with local kids. He was the best at it. One day he knocked out the teeth and broke the jaw of a boy who was 5 years older than he was, and the case went to trial. At the age of 15, Poirier finally dropped out of school, got a job at McDonald's, and spent his free time drinking and smoking with friends. He started having problems with the law, after which Dustin ended up in a juvenile correctional facility and rehabilitation centers. Now it's hard to believe, but Poirier didn't look like an athlete in those years. He weighed about 200 pounds, but not due to muscle. When he was about 18 years old, he began training in the Academy of Gladiators MMA gym in his hometown while studying Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Poirier received a black belt in this discipline. Sports helped him not only to improve his physical fitness, but also to channel destructive energy in a constructive direction. Dustin started participating in amateur tournaments, but fighting didn't fully support him. At that time, he worked as a delivery boy. This was his main activity that was bringing home income. Also, trying to make a living, the young fighter collected nuts from plantations and aluminum cans for the environmental service. Next to Dustin was his beloved girlfriend, Jolie LeBlanc. They met at school when they were both 14 years old, and they have almost never parted since then. Jolie admits that she first saw her future husband when he fought with another boy in the school hallway. When he began training, she drove Dustin to the gym and the first amateur fights in other cities. She believed in his success, even when he didn't believe in himself. In 2009, Dustin Poirier began his professional career, and in September of the same year, he and Jolie got married. The fighter was 20 years old then and had only 3 professional fights, but soon there were 7 victories and not a single defeat in his track record. He fought mainly in regional promotions in his native Louisiana and the US South. In 2010, he attracted the attention of World Extreme Cage Fighting, or WEC, and signed with it. On August 18, 2010, Poirier made his debut fight in the WEC against Danny Castillo, but suffered the first defeat in his professional career by the decision of the judges. A few months later, he rehabilitated himself in the eyes of his fans, sending his opponent to a technical knockout in 53 seconds. This fight was the second and last in the WEC promotion because it was absorbed by the more famous organization, the UFC. In October 2010, all fighters automatically passed to the new owner, including Poirier, who decided to descend from lightweight to featherweight in the new organization. His first fight within the UFC took place on January 1, 2011, with Josh Grisby, whom Dustin defeated by points. Next, Poirier was supposed to meet with the Brazilian Rani Yaha, but he got injured and was replaced by a newcomer, Jason Young, whose strength needed to be tested. The fight lasted all the allotted time, after which the judges unanimously voted for Poirier's victory. Then Dustin won his next victory over Pablo Garza in November. In the same year, the documentary Fightville was released, which shows moments of Poirier's early career in MMA and the Louisiana Gladiator Academy. In 2012, Poirier was challenged by the organization's champion contender, Max Holloway, and Dustin defeated him in the first round. The winning action was recognized as the best action of the night for which the fighter received a cash bonus. The next fight against Chan Chan Sung turned out to be a spectacular fight. Even though it was recognized as the best fight of the night, it didn't bring Poirier a victory. Then Dustin first became the main event of the competition. The UFC staged the special night called Korean Zombies vs. Poirier. Due to his effective fighting and undeniable talent, the young promising athlete received his nickname, Diamond, at the very beginning of his career. To develop his talent and achieve great professional success, Poirier transferred to the renowned American Top Team. This made him move to South Florida in 2012 and spend a year apart from his wife. Jolly was finishing nursing school at the time, so she had to stay in Lafayette. After joining the new team, Dustin faced Jonathan Brookins in December and won the fight. The performance against American Cub Swanson in February 2013 was one of the most exciting Dustin Poirier's fights. The rivals were ready to rip each other apart in the octagon, but the victory went to Cub by the unanimous decision of the judges. This was followed by a short streak of 3 wins, which was disrupted by Poirier's encounter with another rising elite promotion star, Conor McGregor, in September 2014. A minute and 46 seconds after the start of the fight, the Irishman sent his opponent to a TKO. Dustin later noted in an interview that the fight with McGregor helped him grow. The thought that the opponent intends to hurt him used to help him to tune into the fight. But in the case of Conor, this didn't help because the Irishman smiled at him before entering the ring. This didn't cause the usual anger or a defensive reaction. So, after the defeat, Dustin had to look for a new approach to fights. After the setback, the Diamond moved up to the lightweight category where Carlos Diego Ferreira was his first opponent. Poirier knocked out the Brazilian in the 4th minute, and the fight brought Dustin a Performance of the Night bonus of $118,000. This was followed by victories over Yancy Medeiros, Joseph Duffy, and Bobby Green. The latter fight also brought the athlete a bonus of $110,000. The winning streak was interrupted only in September 2016 in the first round of the fight with Michael Johnson. Shortly before that, on August 20th, Dustin and his wife Jolie had a daughter, Parker Noel Poirier. In 2017, the athlete fought 3 times in the UFC. He beat Jim Miller and Anthony Pettis, receiving the Best Fight of the Night bonus for both fights. The fight with Eddie Alvarez was stopped by the referee in the 2nd round after illegal strikes, and the fight was declared invalid. After signing a new contract with the UFC, Poirier entered the cage against Justin Gaethje in April 2018. He won by TKO early in the 4th round and once again won the Best Fight of the Night award. In July, the fighter met with Eddie Alvarez in the octagon again and won by technical knockout. In the same year, Dustin was nominated for the Spirit of Hope Award by the American Cancer Society, which has been working with him for a long time. In April 2019, Poirier defeated Max Holloway by unanimous decision of the judges and won the UFC Interim Champion title. A fight that MMA fans had been waiting for several months took place on September 7, 2019, in Abu Dhabi. Dustin Poirier faced Russian athlete Khabib Nurmagomedov in the fight for the UFC lightweight title. On the eve of the fight, there was a funny mistake during the organization of interviews with Dustin. Instead of the fighter's phone number, the promotion mistakenly sent reporters the number of a sexual service agency. The mistake was corrected after several journalists complained about it, trying to get in contact with Poirier. The fight lasted until the 3rd round, in which Khabib used a chokehold, thereby removing the opponent from the fight. This was the 6th defeat in the career of the American. He even shed a tear after the fight. The opponents parted on a friendly note, and according to Nurmagomedov, respectful relations were established between them. After the fight, the athletes exchanged t-shirts, which were later sold at an auction, and the proceeds were transferred to the Poirier's Charity Foundation. The money helped provide clean drinking water to a tribe of pygmies in Africa and Uganda. As for Dustin's fee, he earned $290,000, $250,000 directly for the fight, and $40,000 for media activity. Selling the gear after a fight for charitable purposes has long become a tradition for the American athlete. His foundation, which he runs with his wife, helped a branch of the American Food Bank Network, sent money to the family of a deceased police officer from the spouse's hometown of Lafayette, built a playground for disabled children, and bought computers and backpacks for school children. During the challenging 2020, the Poirier Foundation donated 1,000 meals to the staff at 3 major hospitals in Lafayette. A duel without spectators between Dustin Poirier and Dan Hooker took place on June 27, 2020 in Las Vegas. The rivals fought for all the allotted time, after which Poirier won by unanimous decision of the judges, and both fighters were awarded the best fight of the night. In total, including bonuses and sponsorship payments, Dustin received $370,000. On the eve of this fight, the UFC announced the establishment of a new award for their fighters who are involved in volunteering and charity work. The first athlete to receive the Forrest Griffin Community Award was Dustin Poirier. The athlete donated $25,000 received from the sponsor of this award to charity. On January 23, 2021, Dustin faced Conor McGregor for the second time, and this time won by TKO. Poirier was guaranteed $1 million fee per fight, excluding the percentage of paid broadcast sales. In addition, the athlete received a bonus of $50,000 for performance of the night. Right after the victory, the microphone caught the words of Dustin Poirier thrown into his corner. "I don't fight anymore. I don't like it anymore. I'm done with this." At a press conference, he explained that the training process was difficult for him, especially in the face of COVID-19 restrictions. In the locker room, Dustin took out a photograph showing his wife and daughter and kissed the picture, dedicating the victory to his family. In anticipation of this fight, Conor McGregor promised to donate $500,000 to the Poirier Charitable Foundation, but he never actually did it. According to him, the organization didn't name any specific purposes the funds would be spent on, so he chose to transfer the money directly to the Acadiana Kids Club. In March, Dustin Poirier refused to fight for the champion belt that became vacant after Khabib Nurmagomedov left the sport. The American chose to concentrate on competing the trilogy with the Irishman Conor McGregor. Dustin Poirier fought his third fight with Conor McGregor on July 11, 2021 in Las Vegas, where he won by TKO once again. One of the main advantages of the American fighter is that he's a retrained lefty. In his childhood, all lefties were retrained at school and can deliver unexpected punches. In addition, Poirier always fights aggressively and tries to end the fight ahead of schedule. Almost from the very beginning of his career, he is trained as an MMA fighter and has a very strong character. The main incentive for Dustin is his family, for which he enters the ring. He plans to continue his professional career until the age of 35, so now he is striving to earn as much money as he can to keep his family having plenty of money to live on. Since his UFC debut, Poirier has become a millionaire, with an estimated fortune of $2 million to $4 million. Since 2018, Dustin has started receiving $250,000 per fight, and he constantly collects bonuses for the best fight and the best performance of the night, which is usually $50,000. The fortune of Dustin's wife is estimated by the media at $1 million. Jolie is the director and vice president of the Good Foundation, a nonprofit organization, and helps her husband with his brand of cayenne hot sauce. By the way, Poirier's choice fell on hot sauce not by accident, because cooking helps the diamond to relax after hard fights. He mainly prefers cuisine from the southern US states and even dreams of launching his own cooking show. Together with his wife and daughter, Dustin lives in a house in Lafayette, Louisiana. For his loyalty to his hometown, he received the keys to the city in 2019. Before fights, the fighter trains in Florida. There, in the small resort town of Boca Raton on the East Coast, Poirier bought a 2-story house of 240 square yards for $284,000 in 2014 and sold it for $350,000 in 2017. The 4-bedroom mansion is located in a gated complex with a large tennis court, playground, walking paths, and a park area, and the local area overlooks a small lake with a fountain. The athlete has a collection of luxury cars, which includes the Rolls-Royce Go Series 2, which costs about $311,000, the Cadillac CT6, worth $74,500, the iconic Dodge Challenger muscle car, and the Ferrari 458 Italia sports car. The fighter's body is covered with a large number of tattoos, the first of which, Dice and Flames, he made at the age of 14 at home. The huge cross on his right thigh was made there too. Almost every tattoo carries a certain meaning. The phoenix on the left shoulder symbolizes rebirth and steadfastness. The drawing on the right bicep depicts a Japanese military mask that hides the warrior's emotions. and the heraldic lily on his left hand is a reminder of French roots. The tattoo that symbolizes Dustin's lifestyle is of great importance to him. It's a tiger pattern on his left chest and a Japanese hieroglyph above his heart, which translates as the way of the warrior. There are also 4 female names: his grandmothers, mothers, wives, and daughters. The words inspiration and faith, the name of the home state of Louisiana, the wedding date, and a Bible quote meaning forgiveness for sins on the back of his left forearm. There was also a place on Poirier's body, even though a small one, for a drawing referring to his nickname. On the side of his left wrist, there is an image of a diamond. Will there be a rematch between Dustin Poirier and Conor McGregor? What do you think? If you like the video, leave a like and also subscribe to the channel so that you don't miss anything interesting.